So last time we left off here, Grimlock successfully was able to defend the Autobots against Devastator with some help from Windblade, Bulkhead, and a few others here, and was able to make his way to Earth with Optimus as well. However, the Autobots soon found out that they weren't alone, as with the Decepticon warship now coming down, Starscream was there and he was with his brothers, Skywarp and Thundercracker, as well as Soundwave. And just to kind of reiterate, Starscream does kind of look like his G1 self, and he's a lot more formidable in the storyline. Now, as for the Autobot team, it is Optimus, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Bulkhead, RC, Cliffjumper, Grimlock, and Windblade. So without further ado, we will be covering the Rising Darkness saga, and this will lead into, well, I guess parts 1 through 4, but we won't get to 5 until the next part. So without further ado, let us begin here. Our story starts off with the same episode. Cliffjumper talking to RC via their comms here, and Cliffjumper stumbles upon an energon reservoir. However, he is met by the Decepticon warship, and as original, Viacons do descend upon him, and they start shooting at him. He fires back, and unfortunately, he gets caught in an energon mine explosion. However, due to there being more Autobots, there are likely more Autobots overlapping in the areas and in certain areas as well. So, when Cliffjumper is captured by the Viacons here, they do not make it to the warship because Windblade is in the vicinity. Picking up her speed here, she's able to transform some of her Energon Blade and slice both of the heads of the two Viacons off, and, well, is able to successfully get Cliffjumper. She relays this to Optimus, who then tells all the Autobots to transform and to make their way to Cliffjumper's coordinates, and obviously for Ratchet to get a ground bridge and everything there. So, with that being said here, we then get the view of the Decepticon warship coming into view like the original here. And Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp all descend surrounding Windblade and the injured Cliffjumper. Knowing that she's outgunned here, Windblade tries to figure a way out until a space bridge opens and Optimus, Grimlock, and Bulkhead all pretty much just slug, all three of the Seekers away here. A battle doesn't break out here because, again, Starscream is not dumb enough to risk a fight with Optimus and Grimlock there, so he tells them to transform and to retreat here. And with that being said here, Cliffjumper actually survives. Goes back to base, he gets patched up by Ratchet and everything, and well, the Autobots are still at full strength for a while. And then this also leads to another thing. We actually get another human to the team. Bulkhead meets Miko, RC meets Jack, Bumblebee gets Raph, and, well, Cliffjumper gets Darcy, Jack's love interest. Interesting, ain't it? So this means that they'll have more time to bond together, more time to, well, socialize outside of them being, just kind of classmates and Jack's pointless love interest. So yeah, there's that. Now, let's talk about Rising Darkness Part 2. With Cliffjumper's, death being prevented here and Megatron is now arriving. Megatron actually arrives via ground bridge on the ship here. He walks out and he is a bit heavier, a bit stockier, a little bit more robust, if you will, here. And I'll be explaining that very soon here. So, how this episode would continue is that Starscream and Thundercracker would be, obviously, allowing Megatron to come onto the ship. And Starscream would ask, "I thought you brought more people, my lord." To which he says, yes, the 5 of them will be here once they scanned their alternate vehicle modes. So, with that being said here, we would then get a call from Agent Fowler. His base, or a military base, is being attacked by some Decepticons, 5 of them. And with that being said, Optimus brings, well, a team of 5 with him. He brings himself, Grimlock, Windblade, RC, and Bumblebee. So as all 5 of them exit the ground bridge, they actually see the destruction that lies before them. It's wasted, destroyed, like just straight up annihilated even. And this is where 5 militaristic vehicles pull into view. And this is where they transform, revealing themselves to be Onslaught, Vortex, Blastoff, Brawl, and swindle. To which Grimlock says, "Thought I've killed you guys before." To which Onslaught notes that we were blasted off the Ark, and yes, we were sent flying back to Cybertron, but thanks to a timely space bridge from Shockwave, they managed to survive here, and they snagged some upgrades on the way. So, with that being said here, the Autobots and the Combaticons go head to head with each other. We have Optimus versus Onslaught here. We have Grimlock versus Brawl. We have RC taking on Swindle. Windblade taking on Blastoff. And Vortex versus Bumblebee. The matchups are actually pretty interesting. Some of the Autobots are getting overpowered. Some of the Autobots are actually fighting back pretty evenly here. And Grimlock notes that he is surprised that Brawl is just as strong as him, and so Grimlock decides to apply his more gladiatorial hand-to-hand combat skills here, and actually whoops out Brawl in the hand-to-hand department here. And this is when the Combaticons actually go ahead and combine into Bruticus. So Optimus thinks that the Autobots definitely need to take advantage of this and pretty much perform the same thing that Jazz, Jetfire, and Grimlock did on the Ark. However, Bruticus is a bit different in this timeline here. He's much more well-equipped here, as Windblade transforms and tries to dive bomb him from above like Jetfire did, but Bruticus countered this with a flurry of missiles, kind of similar to how Metroplex did it in Fall of Cybertron, but on a much smaller scale, obviously. This causes the Autobots to dodge, and Windblade gets her wing clipped, causing Grimlock to catch her. So, Grimlock actually gives her to RC while she's unconscious and decides to take Bruticus on himself here, turning into his Dinobot mode and actually running at Bruticus here. And, well, they clash somewhat similarly to before. However, due to Grimlock learning and getting a bit stronger here, plus, again, him adjusting to Earth's atmosphere and, well, learning how to fight his Dinobot form, yeah, I think he would actually give Bruticus a bit of a hard time here. However, the change comes when Bruticus unleashes a sonic pain wave at point-blank range with Grimlock's fire breath, causing him immense damage, but again, Bruticus's hand is somewhat messed up here. However, Grimlock has no choice but to revert back to his robot form, and well, he actually clashes with Bruticus in a sonic pain wave battle with Bruticus's more, what's it called? I guess you could say his blast off hand, if you will. So with that clash here, they both wind up damaging each other. But again, Grimlock is the one worst off, actually taking an immense amount of damage at that point here. So this then leaves Grimlock in a critical condition, and the Autobots have no other choice but to retreat here. So with that being said here, Bruticus is picked up by the Decepticon warship, and he is then given medical attention by Thundercracker, which I do think Thundercracker could actually be a good medic, considering he is the smartest of the group here compared to Skywarp and Thundercracker in certain departments. So I think having Thundercracker, well, Skywarp and Starscream, excuse me, when it comes to certain departments here. So I think that would actually be a good expertise room. So this means that Vortex and Blastoff do get repaired here. But again, Megatron kind of sees this as triumphant, as again, he won't really have to deal with the Dinobot for hopefully a while. However, due to Shockwave's programming, and due to the fact that Grimlock has a healing factor, Ratchet's medical, I guess you could say, expertise on him actually work a lot better now, because he now understands Grimlock biology, because he's been able to repair him, a couple good times since the last part. So, with that being said here, we then have the third part of Rising Darkness, which deals with the Terracons here. Now, again, I am going to space these out by at least a day, to say the least here. Now, Megatron, wanting to test his Dark Energon, actually opens a ground bridge to an area where there were fallen Autobots and a few other things. Because, again, I do think this concept should have been explored here, considering the sheer fact that in Season 3, this feels like it was left out here. And so, Optimus, Ratchet, and Grimlock in this timeline are the ones to go investigate it. And so, with that being said here, I would have Cliffjumper, Bulkhead, and RC here actually go with Windblade to rescue Agent Fowler. Now, let's start off with the trio here. So, Grimlock picks up, well, sorry, Ratchet picks up a Dark Energon signature here, something he's just never really seen before. And again, remember, they've never seen this before because Cliffjumper's alive, meaning they never went to the mine to rescue him and stuff like that, meaning that they never encountered Dark Energon or a Zombie-Con Cliffjumper here. This means that when Optimus, Ratchet, and Grimlock arrive here to confront Megatron, it's well, it's a bit more interesting in this timeline here. With Grimlock there, the Terracons are actually dealt with a bit easier. And Optimus really doesn't have to push himself to really catch through or to pretty much assist Ratchet. However, Optimus makes his way towards Megatron a lot quicker in this timeline. To which Megatron, believe it or not, meets Optimus down there. And again, the size difference could not even be more emphasized here. It's almost Transformers animated like here. To which when Optimus now sees it, he's a bit curious. Megatron's huge and a lot more stockier and bulkier than he was before here. And so, as they fight each other for a minute while Grimlock is protecting Ratchet from the Terracons the best that he can here, Optimus gets completely, and I mean completely overpowered here. Optimus even tries to use his vehicle mode to evade here. However, Megatron turns into a tank with dual fusion cannons, and, well, Optimus is having a tough time evading it. However, at this time, Grimlock has dealt with the Terracons and uses the opportunity to jump on Megatron, still in robot mode here, and lift him up in his tank form and then just suplex him from behind. Just like that. Megatron transforms, and the two actually begin to battle with each other here. And while Megatron is not as big as Grimlock here, he is still in a comfortable size and even weight class to actually push the Dinobot around. To which Grimlock is a bit surprised here, but he narrowly avoids a fusion cannon to actually slice one in half, like kind of, I guess you could say, kind of like TFA or TF1 Optimus, excuse me. And then just almost, I have to say this here, decapitates Megatron here. To which Megatron does blast him back with his other fusion cannon, telling the Dinobot that it won't be like this before transforming into a jet form and taking off here. Ratchet is in shock at what he just saw here and basically puts the conclusion that Megatron is a triple changer now. To which Optimus himself says then he'll have to be more prepared for their next encounter. Now, this is where we get Rising Darkness Part 4 at this point, which would again take place with Windblade, RC, Bulkhead, and Cliffjumper on board the Nemesis, trying to rescue Agent Fowler. And believe it or not, I think that goes the same here, except you would have Windblade providing a bit more of a aerial distraction, while Bulkhead provides a more ground distraction. This also shows the teamwork and chemistry between RC and Cliffjumper. As well, they're able to pummel and somewhat beat easily Thundercracker and Skywarp, and then they hold Starscream at blaster point here. We could say that when Skywarp and Thundercracker try to get up, Windblade's on top of them with blades pointing to their head, telling them not to move. This means they get Agent Fowler out of there just in time, but they narrowly, and I mean this, narrowly avoid being obliterated by Megatron here. Now, this actually changes a lot of things at this point here. We have a triple changer, Megatron. We have the Combaticons earlier than the original. And, well, we have Skywarp, Thundercracker, and a much more formidable Starscream. Still cowardly in a way. But, again, everything still happens the same here. Now, as usual, Megatron beats Starscream for not obeying him. Again, still having that thing here. Yes, Starscream is more formidable in this timeline, but that doesn't mean he's on Megatron's level. Remember that. And so, the Autobots are now sitting and contemplating that, well, they're in a bit of a bind here. They're going to have to adjust. And I mean greatly. They're going to have to adapt to overcome here. So, this is what Grimlock suggests. And this is where I would kind of have like a Rising Darkness. I guess you could say Rising Darkness would actually be a 6-part series for me. So the next day, or when everyone is up and running here, I would have Grimlock run training exercises against Bruticus, or at least a simulator of Bruticus here, teaching the Autobots how to attack the Combiner and how to maneuver around the Combiner. Yes, he is, the muscle here, but again, you have to remember, Grimlock is a tactician in this franchise, or in this continuity. He's so good that Megatron couldn't even break through the front line. Like, imagine your team is being led by someone who's so good in strategic, I guess you could say strategic warfare or tactical warfare, right? And they're so good that the enemy can't even get through the front door of your base. That's how good he is. And again, I think having him run more training exercises here and having the Autobots work together to, I guess you could say, attack him in a way, this builds that bond and builds that trust with each other and builds their confidence that they can have each other's backs here. Even with him and Optimus, while again they are very different here, they've learned to actually work together and actually perfect themselves here. This means that Windblade could even teach the other Autobots, considering she is noted to be one of the more skilled Cybertronians, actually how to, I guess you could say, fight. This actually allows the Autobots learn, I guess you could say, a bit more, or be a bit more skilled here. And even members like Bulkhead learning how to use their weight, to their advantage in battle, and how to actually properly fight in a fighting style that would benefit them greatly here. This also brings the other Autobots a bit closer together. You have RC and Cliffjumper being a lot closer now. You have Grimlock and Windblade being a lot closer here. And, well, this actually gives Jack a lot more time to bond with Darcy. So, basically, in this episode, I would have the Autobots show progress here. Yes, there will be some parts of the episode where I would have even Ratchet train with the Autobots as well here. But again, he wouldn't do so much here, as he would focus on more medical expertise here. And another thing, due to Grimlock being on Earth and due to him being in Africa and also having his own human companion over there being a park ranger, I would also say that due to Grimlock's excavations over there, the Autobots actually have a much more stable energon supplies. Considering energon should have been around the planet, like there really was no reason for it to only be in Jasper, Nevada. So it's actually quite interesting, in my opinion, that, well, I guess you could say it would be a lot more realistic if energon was in different areas of the world here, and again, still in concentrated areas. So, with that being said here, the Autobots' energy supply is very, very stable. Matter of fact, you could actually say it's overfilled at this point here, considering the sheer fact that a lot of the Autobots have excavations here. So, with that being said here, we would have the beginning of Rising Darkness Part 5 here. Megatron finally has enough Dark Energon accumulated and, well, is ready to use it to activate Cybertron. Optimus gets this and understands that this is a full-scale assault. This is a, I guess you could say, one of the more devastating plans that Megatron has here. A full-on desecration of Cybertron's grave here. To which Grimlock thinks to himself here, if Megatron has that kind of army, what if he turns it on Cybertron? What if he can overwhelm his comrades? The weakening effects of Dark Energon may not weaken them to the same degree as him, or weaken them probably far worse than what he could have. So Grimlock is more than adamant to go to, well, or I guess you could say a bit more adamant about them stopping Megatron right then and there here. So with that being said here, every Autobot goes, minus Ratchet, obviously. So with that being said, every Autobot is going, minus Ratchet, and, well, when they exit the ground bridge and magnetize themselves there, Megatron is obviously up, and he throws that Dark Energon. And, well, you could probably say Windblade tries to use her turbines or her tornado ability to actually stop it, which I think would be a bit more realistic here. And Grimlock tries to use his fire breath. But we could say the properties of Dark Energon are just a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess you say just a bit more unstable or a bit more mystical in a way, so that it doesn't explode on a natural basis here. They do chip at it, but not by much. So, with that being said, Megatron resurrects his Terracon army. And this is where he tells his Decepticons to attack. So, with that being said here, that's where I'm going to leave it off here, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I hope you guys have a blessed day.